I have one problem with Hollow Knight Silksong, which kinda ruins the experience for me a bit. No, this video isn't rage bait, this isn't a person wanting to be different from everyone else. I'm genuinely curious if it's just me, or if others feel the same way. I don't feel like looking things up regarding the game because I'm currently streaming it myself. I played the first Hollow Knight in 2018 or 2019 on the Switch 1. Got the game physically, and it had some very nice goodies inside the box. And the game was a blast. The art style, the music, the overall atmosphere of the game and the whole world they created. The gameplay and the metroidvania part of it were really enjoyable. It was one of the harder games, but that was fine by me. I enjoy a good challenge. But the first game had a problem, which kinda ties into my problem with Hollow Knight Silksong. Let's say you have a boss that is quite difficult to beat, and obviously you have to die multiple times. Gotta learn the move pattern and stuff. But after you die, you realize that the last checkpoint, aka bench, is so far away that you need to run back such a long way where it actually takes longer than the actual boss fight itself. And imagine if you lost hundreds if not thousands of your precious geo, but most unfortunately you have to do all of the parkour again and defeat all of those enemies that were in the way, just to get to that one boss again. Not only that, but maybe this time around, out of frustration or whatever, you lost half your health on the way, with no way to heal. So even if you made it, you're now standing there in front of the boss. Now what? At this point I know I won't make it and I have to do probably another 2 or 3 minute run just to get back to the boss. And that isn't one single case, this happens multiple times. I unironically dropped the game twice at different bosses because I just couldn't anymore. I eventually have beaten the game and I thought, you know, it is their first game, they will probably think of a better solution for those checkpoints, benches and the bosses in Silksong. And now having played the first, I don't know how many hours, like 6, 7, 8, the game is incredible. It feels polished, the world they created is beautiful, and it does feel like a worthy sequel. But dear lord, it feels like they doubled down on those personal issues and made it even more frustrating than it really should be. Because not only do you have to run back to bosses for a while, because of benches being placed on the other side of the observable universe, you have a currency which is dropped by only some specific enemies, and 8 out of 10 benches cost some amount of that currency. But you also gotta pay for items and maps and quick travel stations from that same currency. And to make things worse, like bosses doing twice the damage, yeah sure, okay, you know, it's a boss, that's fine by me. But why can also regular enemies that run around the world do twice the damage or combo you with multiple hits? More than half of the enemies can fly too. Some are crazy fast and just evade and spam projectiles all the time. And others fly towards you, but even if you hit them with a nail, they don't care. And they just crash into you no matter what happens. But now imagine the situation where you fight a boss, die to that boss, then you struggle to get back to him out of frustration or simple bad luck, and die again before you even reach the boss. All of the rosaries are gone. Of course, after a while you beat the boss and start exploring again. You find a spot for a bench, but you can't use it. You find the location to fast travel, but you can't activate it. I'm broke, I can't buy that stuff. And eventually you meet a new enemy that does twice the damage all of a sudden, and boom, you mess up and you're gone. You explored for like half an hour or something and you're placed back. Completely back to that last bench you activated when you weren't broke. I can't be the only one who finds that incredibly frustrating for just no reason. Why isn't it possible to just spawn in front of the boss room? If you want to put something like a, you know, jump and run segment, a parkour segment with enemies in front of the boss, do it like during those chapels, you know, where you have all contained in one of those rooms. and put a bench in front of that room? Why do I have still to walk like an additional 2 minutes before I even get there? I just don't understand the decision to make it even worse. Before I started the game, I heard oftentimes from people online how significantly harder this game is compared to the first game, but I don't think it is necessarily harder, but once again just significantly more frustrating for the sake of it, I guess. If you're doing that for a Silk Path of Pain 2, yeah, sure, but why for just the regular gameplay? Unironically, I don't think I have that many other issues with the game. I love the game from what I have seen so far, but man, this is kinda ruining the fun a bit for me. And I dare you to say that it's a skill issue. I may have a low self-esteem, but dude, I play video games for as long as I can remember. And I play them well. I was the maniac who spent multiple hours on the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree final boss pre-patch to try to beat him without using any summons. The vault is still there. And heck, I first tried the Godskin Apostle duo and first or second tried the final boss of the base game. Not that I have to prove myself here, but I felt like pointing that out. I also have played Prince of Persia on the SNES. If you know, you know. Anyways, where were we? Yeah. The bench situation is crazy. I usually never do a video in the middle of a playthrough, but I just had to get it out of my system. Maybe, maybe I am missing something and I am the problem. Maybe there's something part of the design philosophy I don't understand. But feel free to share your opinion in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sure a lot of people will just come in, see the title and just say, I don't know, people will write some horrendous stuff. The game is still fire. I just felt like mentioning that. I think the game is still fantastic, but this is just, it's just unfortunate. I will still continue it obviously though, so feel free to join into the streams. I wish you a fantastic rest of your day, by the way. Have a good one, folks. Goodbye.